Oh, for God's sakes. Can I help you, sir? I was in the middle of a bubble. Oh, hey, Delta. Eleanor? Oh, no, her vent's at the other end of the hall. Yeah, I know, right? They all look the same. How are you supposed to tell them apart? Huh, interesting. I suppose that's why you're the big daddy and I'm just a bird in a bubble bath. Yeah, so just down the hall, take a left, that should be her vent. Oh, hey, and watch yourself out there. Lamb's in a mood lately, and you know the kind of headache she can cause. Nice guy. Well, Mr. Rubber Ducky, it's back to bath time. Huh, 2 birds in a bubble bath halfway under the sea. There's a joke in there somewhere. So, you know, I really don't know how you can manage to improve upon a game that, for all intents and purposes, was closer to perfection than 95% of modern games could ever hope to be. But butter me up and call me corn cob, cause Bioshock 2 is as good as gold. I really gotta chill with these corny jokes. Okay, I'm done. Sorry. In all seriousness, Bioshock 2 was impressive to say the least. It managed to improve on the few minor things the first game fell short on, while at the same time improving the combat feel and overall difficulty of the game. And of course, again, managed to deliver an amazing story. So much so, in fact, I genuinely don't know which game I prefer more. And that's saying a lot, honestly, considering Bioshock's story is as close to perfection as possible, and Bioshock 2 somehow managed to match it at the very least. So enough yapping, let's do this. Yahoo! I can't lie. Going into Bioshock 2, I was extremely skeptical. A lot of times you'll come across that story that just hits every mark so perfectly that you have to sit back and question if a sequel is even necessary. To me, Bioshock and its story was so magnificent end to end that I truly questioned if anything more needed to be said. I mean, how do you follow Andrew Ryan and Frank Fontaine? How do you capture the magic and mystery again in a setting we are already familiar with? After all, I would argue that 50% of what made Bioshock so great was the mystery surrounding this sunken city. Well, apparently Bioshock 2 had an answer just waiting to shut me the fuck up. Look, I could go on and on about so many different aspects of the story for this game. How Sophia Lamb is so damn interesting as she presents herself as everything Ryan was against. She believes the collective should bring about utopia, while Ryan believed that a man's duty was to himself and only himself regardless of the consequences. Lamb believed that everyone should help each other. Ryan believes the strong should stand and the weak should kneel. Lamb believes free will is a curse, while Ryan believes
a man chooses, a slave obeys.
How Sinclair, a man that every bone in my body told me not to trust and question everything he ever said, no matter how small or unimportant, turned out to be far more honest than most of us. How Tenenbaum returned to Rapture because little girls are going missing from the surface, turned and twisted into forms of her little sisters, her experiments and her will to break the cycle of torment in Rapture. How, as a result of that torment, a man, Mark Meltzer, goes in search of his daughter Cindy, braving the dystopian shell of Rapture alone, only to find her changed into one of the little sisters, and with no way or know how to save her, becomes her protector until someone else comes along to free her from her condition. Had I known, maybe I would have made a different choice. Yeah, choices. Choices. Hey, just gotta jump in here real quick. Ahead are major spoilers for Bioshock 2 as well as Bioshock 1. So if you have not played either of the games and don't want it spoiled for you, just jump to the timestamp that's on screen. I tried to cover the story without going into spoilers, and I wind up just talking in circles, and to get the point across I'm trying to make here, I needed to actually bring up some major events, so I didn't want to just dump that on you without the chance to skip it. So anyway, timestamps on screen. Give you a few seconds. All right, back to the other guy. Bioshock posed a question to the player. Did you really ever have any choice? Sure, you could choose to save or harvest the little sisters, but Atlas never gave you the phrase when making that decision. So if he had said, would you kindly harvest her for her Adam, would you have? Outside of the ending of Bioshock 1, after Tenenbaum is able to weaken the mental conditioning, nothing you did was really up to you. No free will, just a phrase and an action, and that's all it took. Bioshock 2 flipped this this on its head and added so much more to it. You could still choose to save or harvest the little sisters, but this time saving them was significantly harder. Do you take the easy way to get to Eleanor faster and just harvest all of them? Or do you take the time out to help them gather the atom first and then save them? There was the morally right choice that took longer and was far harder, or the morally wrong choice that was faster and much easier. And they leave that choice entirely to you, something that you choose to do without any eyes near to see. Then it steps it up again by giving you 3 people within Rapture, all connected to the story heavily, their fate completely dependent on your choice to spare them and forgive what they did or kill them. Grace Holloway, a singer, a friend to Sophia Lamb, and a caretaker for Eleanor. From the moment you first interact, she makes it clear that you are the enemy and is sending the family to kill you to protect Eleanor. You are a monster to her. You're the one who kidnapped Eleanor and tried to turn her into a monster, and she will throw everything at you until you are dead. You have to fight your way through Popper's drop until you finally come face to face with her, and the rest is up to you. She just spent hours trying to kill you, sending every splicer she had your way because to her, you are the monster that took Eleanor. But does she really believe that, or is that something that she has been told? Does she truly deserve to die over a lie fed to her by Lamb? Her fate is entirely left up to you. And at the end of the day, who would know? Rapture's a dangerous place after all. Stanley Poole, a monster of a man, trapping you inside of Dionysus Park to do his bidding, to erase all the little sisters trapped there so there is no evidence tying him to the fact that he sold out Lamb in the first place. He kidnapped Eleanor, he handed her over to be changed into one of the little sisters, and he flooded the park and killed thousands, all to cover up what he did. Maybe he does deserve to die. Guilt is only somewhat a punishment for what he's done. Who would miss him? At some point, he will betray everyone he's ever known, so maybe we just save them the headache. But without him and his actions, would we have ever been bonded to Eleanor in the first place? Would we ever have a chance to save her from Lamb? Gilbert Alexander, responsible for the Big Daddy program after Suchong's demise at the hands of one of his creations. Not really a man deserving of death, but he's asking us to kill him. Confusing to say the least. The man we hear through the audio tapes is adamant that he will lose his mind and he wants us to kill him to free him from his insanity. Yet the creature he has become wants to live. Some can argue that Gil did die already, and what exists now wishes to continue to live. But is that life confined to a tube, twisted and morphed? Maybe it's a mercy. Not like anyone else would find him down here. You make your choices. I know I made mine. And after all of that work, all of that fighting, you finally get to Eleanor just to realize
That's gospel.
she saw everything. Everything you did, every choice you made, everyone you spared, and everyone you killed. Bioshock posed the question of if you had a choice. Bioshock 2 asked you if you could live with the consequences your choices bring, and with 3 words, made me realize that I couldn't.
And then, Father, the rapture dream was over. You taught me that evil is just a word. You taught me that justice is a contract. You taught me that right and wrong are tidal forces. You taught me that innocence is chrysalis, a phase designed to end.
Had I known she was watching, maybe my choices would have been different. But I guess that's the point. We don't get to see the consequences of our choices in the moment, and by the time we do, it's too late. Bioshock 2's story is fantastic, so much so that I question which one I like better. Truthfully, they feel like one game to me, just different chapters of the same book. Yeah. Well, I am fully depressed now, also more afraid of having children at some point in my life. Thanks, game! Didn't have to do that to me on a Saturday morning. Anyway, on to the gameplay. Okay then, got a little depresso espresso up there, so let's talk about the fun stuff. Again, Bioshock 2 managed to improve upon a very fun combat system from the first game. While the plasmids remain the same from the first game, something that was a great change in terms of feel was the fact that you could left-hand a plasmid while also right-handing a gun. Which, from a lore perspective, makes sense. You're a big daddy. You are more than strong enough to hold these weapons one-handed. It really did make the combat feel more fluid rather than swapping back and forth between between solely a plasmid or solely a gun, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing in the first game, but having both was just that minor improvement that made the game feel so much better, especially given the difficulty spike of the second game. Now, it wasn't exactly a Nintendogs to Dark Souls level jump in difficulty, but it was definitely there. Splicers took significantly more damage, the CC felt like it didn't quite last as long, and god, the splicers hit like a truck when they got in too close, not to mention there was also significantly more of them in most areas. And surprisingly, the game actually gives a reason to why it is like this. In the first game, the splicers were very noticeably weaker than the big daddies, but in 2, they are actually mentioned to be getting bolder and more effective when taking on the bouncers or the rumblers, which it's kinda cool that the game gave a relatively legitimate reason for this. 10 years post the fall of Rapture, it would make sense that the splicers are genuinely learning how to effectively kill the big daddies and gain more Adam from the little sisters. They ain't met me yet. God, the drill is a ton of fun. I can't lie and say I wasn't dying to try it out, and man did it not disappoint. Granted, none of the weapons were really disappointing in any meaningful way. My personal favorites were the drill, the rivet gun, and the spear gun. The spear gun specifically because god, it was just brutal to shoot a 3-foot spear through some splicer, pin him to the wall, and follow on up with his buddy with a little drill down hoedown. Here comes Papa! Overall, the combat, while a lot of the same from Bioshock, just feels a bit cleaner and a little bit more responsive. And Lord, thank God it does, because they added 2 encounters that persist throughout the entire game that are gonna cost you a lot of bullets. While the concept of taking out the big daddies to get to the little sisters is exactly the same, dealing with the little sisters is very different. So you kill a big daddy, sorry Mark, anyway, and you can either harvest or adopt. Now harvesting is instant Adam, but we don't do that here. So you adopt, and before you save her, you need to find 2 Adam-rich splicers she can siphon from. On paper, this is simple, but the second you set her down and she begins siphoning, from every direction you are attacked wave after wave of desperate splicers trying to get the damn Adam. And all you can do is stand your ground and defend her. Now, this ranges from wide open areas with plenty of hackable robo-buddies to help to tiny corridors with nothing but your drill and the will to protect to stop them. Some of these ambushes got freaking hard. Holy crap, it really depended on what variants they were throwing at you wave after wave. In some instances, I had enough ammo and enough robots around to make it work and just squeak by, and other ones completely ate through my entire ammo supply just because some of these motherfuckers take a lot of shots to go down. And the fact that you don't have to do this once, but twice for every little sister you want to save really does slow you down a lot. On the one hand, really enforcing the moral choice aspect of saving the little sisters, and in the other hand, if you're dead set on saving all of them, you need to take the time out to look around for extra supplies, as you probably won't have enough money to completely refill all the shots that you need. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, is actually kind of a nice touch. It forces you to look through all the extra areas in any of the given maps. There are a lot more rooms to explore in Bioshock 2 than there were in the previous game, so a good way to incentivize exploration in the player. Nice. Anyway, where were we? Okay, she's got her Adam, she's saved from a life of a little sister, and... What the fuck was that? Oh Jesus, hello. The Big Sisters. On a side note, also a fucking depressing lore deep dive, but if you want to do that to your goddamn self, go ahead and look it up. I've cried enough for a Saturday. By far, the Big Sisters are the hardest enemies in the entire game. They aren't super common, showing up after every 4 sisters you save and once in a gang fight that sucked, but when they do, good golly. Armor plated to hell and can take more shots than I had in my damn clip. They barely stay stunned when you manage to electrocute them, can hurl flipping boulders with plasmids of their own, hit like an isekai truck, and are fucking fast. All in all, a great fight, to be honest with you. Really mixed it up every so often, and hearing that scream while I was low on ammo, health, or plasmid supplies had me running for a circus of value as fast as I could. Oh yeah, and when speaking of the added difficulty to Bioshock 2, they cut down the amount of healing and plasmid supplies you can carry from 10 to 6 and 5 respectively. And to my surprise, I actually like this a lot. I always felt like I had way too many supplies in the first game, so cutting it nearly in half definitely had me going into fights a bit more carefully. One final thing I would like to add in terms of changes to the gameplay was the tonic system. Making them all one category was honestly a really fun change. I could stack out my build with a ridiculous amount of tonics that all do one very specific thing, rather than being limited to the 5 or 6 of each type you got in the first game. It really let me run wild with some wacky builds, like one of them that I tried out for a while, which meant if a splicer touched me, the room was exploding into a ball of fire and ice, and that was just so much fun. Bioshock 2's gameplay delivers in nearly every aspect that I guess one could argue the first game fell short on, changing just enough to add to the quality of life and overall feel of the combat loop while still retaining its core values and systems. Honestly, I don't know if I could have asked for anything better. The gameplay of Bioshock 2 is just a wonderful experience altogether. On to what last time I said unfortunately was Bioshock's killer, and that's replayability. Again, the Bioshock games aren't devoid of replayability, but at the same time they're not completely brimming with it either. However, where Bioshock 2 shines a bit brighter than Bioshock would be the variety in story and the DLCs. For one, Bioshock 2 has 6 possible endings you can chase down. I know I'm chasing my third right now, and for reference, there is a spreadsheet graph thing out there that shows how to trigger each ending, but I'm trying to see how many I can get on my own. So that, along with the 4 levels of difficulty, gives the second game a handful of reasons to actually replay the story quite a few times. On the other end, once the story has run its course for you, you have the Protector Trials, essentially similar minigames to the first installment, and Minerva's Den. Yeah, not sure what it is with Bioshock 2, but 2 sad-ass stories in one game is just uncalled for. Minerva's Den definitely suffers in terms of gameplay compared to the main story. It's a lot of get this, go here, come back, do this, go back, so on and so forth. But God, again, the story is an amazing ride. CM Porter is such a great character for such a small story, and in an unexpected turn, Minerva's Den also sheds light on what Tenenbaum was doing while Delta was looking for Eleanor, since she kind of vanished early into the main story. I'd say it's worth more than a play or two, probably not gonna get much more out of it than that, but still a great addition. So, in every aspect, Bioshock 2 really managed to improve on every point: gameplay, story, and replayability. Bravo, 2K, bravo. So, is Bioshock 2 worth $19.99? Absolutely. Even more so when you realize a game of this caliber has been on sale for as low as $2.99 from time to time. If you can pick it up for that, it's a damn steal, and I would highly urge you to play it if you haven't already. Whether you get it on sale or for full list price, I can honestly say you will not regret it. God, what is it with these games? Bioshock as a series is just so masterfully crafted, from the combat to the setting, and even more so with the story. Something I love to do when I play any game is immerse myself as much as I physically can and really embody the character they ask me to play. Just makes the whole experience more fun for me when I put myself in their shoes. But fuck! That's twice now that Bioshock has nearly broken me. Like, goddamn! The first one spiraled me with a complete mind blast, and now this one has me questioning every action and decision I have ever made. Like, games are supposed to be fun, not having me reevaluate myself as a human. What the fuck, man? Well, that's about it from me. If you enjoyed and have some time, maybe like the video. If not, no pressure. But are you prepared for the consequences of that choice? The fuck? Or if you think I'm wrong or I completely missed something major about the story of Bioshock 2, let me know down below. I always enjoy hearing people's takes on these games. Anyway, looks like up next we are tackling Metro 2033. Someone recommended this to me a while ago, but never really got around to it, so here goes nothing, I guess. And after that, well, it's back to good old Borderlands. Trying to space out the sequels as much as possible, but kinda gambling with the release date of Borderlands 4 at this point. Hopefully I got time to get through the rest of them. Problem for another time. Anyway, see ya.